Hey everyone, how you doing? It's Michael Parrish with Halo Therapy Solutions. This is obviously is going out to those of you that are in my LinkedIn network. So I'm trying something new here today. I oftentimes in my consultations get the chance to reference projects that we work on because of course many of our prospective customers as they're trying to envision what they want to do specific to their businesses, some of whom already have wellness, fitness, spa, chiropractic, massage therapy, and there are myriad other business types that are now pivoting into wellness and recovery and regenerative medicine. And it helps them to think about what other customers across the United States might be doing. And so in my travels, fortunately, I get the chance to meet some amazing men and women, some tremendous, talented business owners. And today I'm going to spotlight a gentleman named JD DeHart. He's out there in the San Diego, California region. JD DeHart is somebody that, as you can tell by this picture, is not only does he look like he could, or probably stepped out of the World Wrestling Entertainment ring, he also looks like he's somebody that could lift about 10 of me. And he's somebody who lives wellness, it's in his DNA. And so it makes sense that he has become very successful with his business. But I want to tell you about the story behind the pictures. So we'll go through a few pictures here of what I was able to capture with JD, and it leads into me hearkening back to about a year and a half ago. It's almost been 2 years. So it's a year and maybe three quarters of a year ago. JD calls into our company. At this point in time, we were still calling our Halo Red Legacy the Vitality Booth. We were getting ready to transition and rename it the Vitality Booth Plus because we had advanced the light emitting diode technology to move that unit, which is a beautiful tempered glass booth, 1, 2, and 3 person footprints, along with Halo Therapy. It was already patented. And by the way, this is right around the time that we had just gotten the notification that we had our unit fully patented. So we then received that, advanced the technology from dual spectrum red light therapy to what we call quad spectrum red light therapy. So 4 wavelengths, 630 and 660, which are deep red wavelengths. And at that point in time, it was 830 and 850, and we've since expanded into a deeper wavelength on the near infrared side. But JD calls in our early conversations, at that point in time, JD was just the owner of a successful mattress store, and he called that mattress store Real Deal Sleep. And I could tell when I initially began to speak with JD that he was somebody that certainly had a big personality. He had a big vision, enthusiastic, intelligent, driven, and was very focused on and excited about creating the successful blueprint for a wellness business in San Diego. And so his vision at the time was just start with what he had, right? It's the old saying that you do the best you can with what you have, and that's what JD did. So right on his mattress showroom floor, he envisioned taking a segment or a portion of that floor and then bringing in wellness equipment and then launching a wellness business. Sounded a little bit, didn't sound crazy, but to some people that might sound like a less than ideal situation. But he was convicted that this was going to be something that could grow. He certainly wasn't afraid of hard work. He had an inherent customer base, and he had built a reputation in the community of being a go-getter. So I educated him on the what is now called the Halo Red, and he had never heard of that our equipment before, but his intuition kicked in, and he knew that just because he had never heard of halo therapy before, which is dry salt therapy, the process of taking pharmaceutical grade salt and then milling that salt by and through a generator and sending that salt into a room, or in this case, a glass enclosure, and then passively or actively breathing in that salt so you could cleanse your respiratory system and also provide a tremendous skin detox. That was all new to him. And then combining that with red light therapy and then the way in which that combines to create some interesting dynamics with the way that light refracts off of and scatters off of salt to create a wraparound and a blanket effect of the red light therapy, which is why our solution is patented, which increases your immersion, increases your saturation, your absorption rate, gives you a more uniform immersion and saturation in your mitochondria and your cells. All of that was exciting to him. He knew what that meant. He knew it meant that was he was going to be able to differentiate himself in the marketplace, and that's what he was looking for. He was looking for modalities that people were seeking after, but he wanted to do it in a way where the way that he was doing it was just a little bit different than what was being done at the time. And so the long story short is he launched with one Halo Red. At the time, it was called the Vitality Boost Plus, and one Halo Sauna. And he had a vision. His vision was going to be he wanted to launch a high value, low price, or high value, low cost wellness business. And he knew that in the world of wellness generally, and in many cases, not most, but in many cases, it's very common that wellness is priced at a very high rate. So he wanted to create a different model, and he launched. And we had many conversations after he launched. He would, in addition to our customer success program that we provide, he had me on hotline. He would call me frequently, text me frequently, asking questions about the modalities themselves. If he had customers come in that hit him with questions that he didn't have answers to, he would then text me or call me, and we'd huddle up for conversations to further educate him on how to explain the way in which red light therapy works when it's interacting with dry salt therapy. And I would also help him through some of the other modalities that he was bringing in, because he also brought in cryotherapy. And so, interestingly, JD did launch, and you can see in that picture previous to this that he had Real Deal Sleep, and then he just duplicated his color scheme and his design palette, and he created Real Deal Wellness, reds and blacks. And this is what's interesting. I walked into his showroom floor, and sure enough, you go in and you see beds right there on the floor, and then just to the right of this picture, he has a row of wellness equipment, and it was humming and it was buzzing, and there were customers, and they had smiles, and they were enthusiastic, and his passion obviously was contagious to them, and he didn't deviate from his blacks and his reds and his whites. And so on his showroom floor, he now has, because he's expanded, he has 2 Halo Reds, he has a Halo Sauna, he has cryotherapy, and then he knew he wanted to continue to move the needle further down that continuum of trying to differentiate, adding more value. So he brought in our Halo Uno. Our Halo Uno is a booth that we brought to the market about 2 years ago, and it helps businesses that have a very limited footprint. All the Halo Uno takes is about a little bit less than 14 square feet of footprint. And he did something special with the Halo Uno. He made the Halo Uno the delivery system for our patented CBD infused dry salt. So we have the worldwide patent on zero THC full spectrum CBD, which is infused in kinetically active dry salt. And so now when people look across his room and then they look at this one area, which is his CBD therapy sanctuary by and through the Halo Uno, they say, hey, this is all great. Halo Red, Halo Sauna, I'm loving that. I love the cryotherapy. What's in that room? And I want that. So he has a CBD therapy room. Again, taking kinetically active salt, infused with CBD, breathing that salt in, which is gentle and therapeutic. And the CBD rides on in deep into the respiratory passageways. It helps take pain reduction, anxiety reduction, and lung healing to higher levels. And that's what's great about that. So interestingly, he started, and again, he was burning the midnight oil. He was working very hard first 3 months, and he gave folks a choice. The choice that he gave them was, in his case, you could have a single session for $39, or you could have unlimited use for $99. And that model began to really churn out interest and excitement. And so here he is a little over a year later, and he's at right around 500 clients, all of which are paying right in that sweet spot of $99 a month. So, needless to say, he is very excited. That's a solid amount of recurring revenue. And the best part of this is these are with modalities that are mostly attendantless, very low maintenance. The Halo Reds and the Halo Saunas and the Halo Unos are again using kinetically active salt as the anchor modality, driving and fueling that wellness experience. And salt kills bacteria, it kills virus, eliminates microbe activity. Salt is also a negatively charged ion, which means it bands to and wraps itself around and gathers around positively charged ions. And positively charged ions are the particulates that you don't want to breathe in, like mold spores and dust and other impurities. So salt neutralizes their ability to circulate in the air. So not only is salt killing bacteria and killing virus, it's creating this indoor air quality that's very high. So people can get into the unit and get out of the unit. You don't have to worry about sanitizing the unit between every session with any level of significance because it's being sanitized during the session. So that's always exciting. So low maintenance to no maintenance. And then the Halo generator for him is so easy to maintain because all they do is once a week, they just brush off the milling assembly to get the crystallized salt off of it. That's maintenance, takes 3 minutes, and then it's right back in. And the beauty of all this is he's able to get people in. He has a high utilization. He's got fast turnover, and he's able to get a really smooth throughput. Customers in, customers out, gold standard wellness. And thus, he's now created just over a year a bustling business that is now going to move from his mattress showroom floor into a standalone location, which will become the prototype for what is very likely, if you know anything about JD DeHart, it will very likely be his first location to create the blueprint for a franchise in probably the tail end of 2026. And it's great to see how he's grown as a business owner in the wellness world, how passionate he is now. And he's somebody that fully believes and is the embodiment of wellness. If you just pivot back to that picture that I showed you, he's certainly a healthy 50 some odd year old. He's fully committed. He's not just somebody who provides wellness, he lives it, he breathes it. And at this point, he's passionate about it. And it does make sense then that someone like him runs a podcast. He runs that right out of his studio there because he's somebody that not only wants to share the equipment and generate revenue, but he wants to also help, as I always say, rearrange mental furniture and get people excited about committing to a life of longevity, a life of vibrance, and a life of health. So, Real Deal Wellness, San Diego, California, one of our many customers in and around the world, and in particular in the United States. So I always wanted to share his story in a brief video here on LinkedIn. And I hope all of you have a wonderful weekend. Here's to your wellness, to your health, to your safety of you and yours and those that you love. And we'll talk to you soon, everyone. Have a great weekend.